a special edition of 2020.
I'm a little concerned about the projectiles.
We're live inside the danger zone.
Whoa!
Incredible video just coming in as Irma slams into Tampa. Fears of a huge storm surge. My 2020 co-anchor David Muir taking a direct hit.
Because as we were on the air, you can actually hear some of this debris coming in.
Our ABC News team tethered down and reporting from every point along the way.
I'm gonna come in.
Storm chasers risking everything, not running away,
The whole park behind me is coming apart.
but racing in through a solid wall of water and wind. The human dramas. A former Miss Florida trying to find her husband.
I can't get in touch with him, and I didn't think that this was gonna be upsetting to me, but
The destruction Irma has already left behind in the Keys. And where she's headed next. What will people be waking up to tomorrow? There's no turning back now. Hurricane Irma, Monster Storm, a special edition of 2020.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. We are live on the West Coast with this special edition. We have seen the sheer, unrelenting force of Hurricane Irma making landfall in the Florida Keys as a Category 4 hurricane this morning, then making land again this afternoon on Marco Island as a Category 3, and then again at Naples, Florida as Category 3. As we join you on the air, live on the West Coast, the storm is not yet over. Now closing in on Tampa, St. Petersburg area. So vulnerable because it is a very low-lying basin. Many of those buildings are not built to hurricane code the way buildings are in southern Florida. The last time this area was hit by a major hurricane was in 1921. More than 3.5 million people are without power in Florida right now, and Irma will threaten people throughout the night and into the morning. Our correspondents are on the ground in the track of the hurricane from Miami on the east coast of the Florida Peninsula, wrapping all the way around and up the west coast, where Irma has done such devastation during the hours this afternoon. We're going to begin tonight with my 2020 co-anchor David Muir in Naples, where Irma hit hard late this afternoon. David.
Elizabeth, good evening to you. And you know, this is still a very powerful and dangerous hurricane tonight, Irma, as she continues her path northward. This was really an incredible sight to witness late today here. We're in Naples. And as Irma first made landfall in the Keys, she then barreled up the western side of Florida. And our first indication that this hurricane was nearing was from Marco Island, where they had wind gusts reported of 135 miles per hour, which is significant. Really anything above 100 miles per hour, and the National Hurricane Center will tell you, prepare for tornado-like damage. And then all of a sudden, the hurricane was right on us, right in the middle of while we were reporting on the air. In fact, there were wind gusts at the time right nearby at the Naples airport of 142 miles per hour. Take a look at how it played out. If hurricanes are living things, this is Irma's oxygen. At 4 p.m., Irma makes her second landfall, hitting Marco Island and then Naples, creating near whiteout conditions, pummeling the coast with punishing winds and torrential rains. And already severe flooding outside Fort Myers.
The bad news is that this is some big monster, but I think we're very well coordinated. You don't want to be in that path. That's a path you don't want to be in.
Wind gusts reaching over 100 miles an hour, strong enough to knock down not just thin trees, but also blow out this office window and topple a concrete sign.
Oh my God!
Our ABC team forced to seek shelter when the roof tiles from the building and the debris came flying through the air. And I'm just going to show you what we've done down here. Because as we were on the air, you can actually hear some of this debris coming in. But these windows come around the corner here, Tom. This is what happens when these buildings, and just be careful, Tom, the awnings on the outside of the building actually are crashing down, breaking these windows inside the hotel. With power transformers being knocked out,
whoa! What?
Thousands of evacuees hunkered in area shelters, but the storm gives no quarter. Here, battering the glass doors of this Naples shelter.
There was pandemonium. We were very nervous, very scared. And with her nerves and with the baby, we just hightailed it out, packed a bag, packed some food, packed whatever we needed, got here in about an hour.
Earlier, at another Florida shelter, we met toughened hurricane survivors like John Tisdale.
Andrew flattened everything in his path. Just toppled houses, knocked the roof off of houses.
So you're not taking any chances?
I'm not taking, no. I'm 70 years old. I can't take no chances right now.
Oh, you're going to be okay.
I'm peaking at the end of my lifetime.
We're glad you're here at the shelter.
Okay, I appreciate it.
When Irma made its first U.S. landfall in the Keys around 9 this morning, all expectations were shattered. More water moving with more force. The streets of Key Largo resembling the canals of Venice. Watch as this storm chaser in the Keys struggles to keep his feet as he tries to clock how fast the winds are, clocking gusts as high as 117 miles per hour. In Naples, a brief respite from Irma's fury as her eye passes over.
This is not bad. It was, 20 minutes ago, you couldn't even see the parking lot.
I can't believe you guys were here.
Tonight, more than 600,000 customers in the area without power. And with water distribution lines in Naples now broken, those who chose to weather it out will be left to boil water in the dark. It won't be until after sunrise when we can witness the full devastation left in Irma's wake. Really stunning to see the strength and power of this hurricane as it was hovering over us at that 140 mile per hour mark. And Elizabeth, I have to tell you, now that night has fallen, it's a really unsettling night for so many of the communities north of here where the hurricane is hitting during the nighttime hours. And we won't really have a true sense of the scope of the damage here in this part of the state until tomorrow when we're able to go out. The authorities had told us and all of the people who live here, don't be fooled by the lull in the storm, that when the eye crosses over, you do get a break, and we witnessed that. Literally, the wind stopped, the rain stopped, and we could see the trees all around here snapped in two, but we still did not leave. The outer bands have been really hitting us all night long. You can see the winds and the rain continues here. We won't have a full view of what this state actually faces after Irma until tomorrow, but I can tell you those winds were so powerful, there is going to be a lot of damage when the sun comes up. My only hope is in thinking about all the people who are in the shelters. I remember being in Katrina in the Superdome as people had to sit it out and those winds hit, the roof peeling off a bit. I'm thinking about all the families who were in the shelters today throughout Collier County and this state. As that powerful hurricane moved over them, I know they just want to get home and see if their homes are still intact, if their property has been damaged or not. It's going to be a tough few days ahead and weeks as they rebuild these communities. Elizabeth?
Oh, you bet, David. And I know that we just got word that authorities will begin sending search parties out tomorrow morning at dawn in the Florida Keys, which is far south of where David's reporting from, where the hurricane first hit. Only tomorrow morning, 24 hours after that hurricane hit, will they begin to get out there and start to make house-to-house searches to check on people's welfare. Right now, however, we're going to follow the track of Hurricane Irma tonight. We're going to go 116 miles north of where David was in Maple to Sarasota, where our ABC News senior meteorologist, Rob Marciano, was there. And Rob, you're still in quite the rain. I mean, Hurricane Irma is hitting you right now, correct?
Absolutely. The center of Irma just to our east, and we're getting the strongest winds that we've seen all evening. The first responders here, they are sheltering in place, not going out for rescues anymore tonight, and they'll have to wait until this thing subsides tomorrow. But look at what's happening behind me, and these trees just getting pounded by this wind. Obviously, the rain has been heavy as well. And what's different about the trees here versus what's in South Florida, there's less in the way of those pliable pine trees. These, in some cases, are a little bit more in the way of hardwoods. They're easier to snap, easier to uproot, and we may very well see more in the way of tree damage. Off in the distance, at times, we've seen some power flashes. There are areas of this region that are certainly without power, and now we're starting to see wind gusts at least to hurricane strength, and they've been steadily increasing throughout the last couple of hours. So the next 2 to 4 hours really here in Sarasota County, DeSoto County, getting up through Hillsborough and Pinellas County. It is really going to be rough. And David mentioned the unsettling feeling of these things hitting at night. Well, we're getting the brunt of this Category 2 storm now, what is turning into the middle of the night, and it can be eerie to say the least, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. We know that Irma was a hurricane for 11 days, which is almost unprecedented in hurricane lore. Is that part of the reason why it's staying so strong as it moves up over land? I mean, normally we see hurricanes begin to disintegrate and lose power. We thought that Irma would be downgraded to a 1 maybe a few hours ago, but it has hung on as a strong Category 2.
Well, it's had quite some longevity, hasn't it? Just off the coast of Africa. We've tracked this thing, as you mentioned, for over 10 days. It set records as far as the length of time. It was over 185 miles an hour. It was up there in the records as far as the length of time. It was a Category 5, as it buzzsawed, unfortunately, to use that term, across the Caribbean. And then Cuba and some of the mountains and the coastline there did take some of the meat out of the southern half of that, and that helped us a little bit as far as the U.S. goes in the backside of this storm. But when you get a storm that's lasted this long and has had such a strong core, even if it's just mostly the northern half of it, it takes some time to unwind. And Florida is very flat, so there are no mountains here to take it out. It usually does take some time for a hurricane, when it hits this state, to start to weaken. So it's a slow process, and it's going to be a long night, especially for the northern half of this state, Elizabeth.
Indeed it will. All right, Rob Marciano, we'll check back in with you later. Let's go now further up north, continuing along with the track of Hurricane Irma, to ABC's TJ Holmes, who's in Tampa now as that city braces for the storm. And TJ, we know this city, the entire basin is incredibly vulnerable to this storm.
It's incredibly vulnerable, and not just that. I mean, think about it. This is a place that ranks, or has been ranked, as one of the top places in the world that's vulnerable for flooding. They can get a strong rainstorm anytime during the year, and this place is prone to flood. But now you're talking about a 5 to 8 foot storm surge that's going to be coming, and it really has people anxious in a way that they have never been anxious before. This is the strongest we've seen the winds all day. This is the most rain we've seen here all day. It has been an incredible wait for the folks here to have to sit at home and actually watch television and watch what's happening down south. Watch as this storm makes its way, a storm that they didn't think was going to come their way anyway. Not until over the weekend, when the track of that storm changed and it started to make a beeline straight up the west side now, the west coast of Florida, right towards them. So many people here haven't even been thinking about this storm in a major way, at least, until the past couple of days. But this is some of the strongest wind, 65 miles an hour wind gusts we've seen so far. And it's going to be a long night. And again, Elizabeth, it's dark here. This is going to happen to them overnight, so they have to wait until the morning to see what happens.
Right, bit of a different experience for the folks in Tampa than it was for the folks, for example, in Naples or even in Miami, where they had the storm hit during daylight hours. TJ, stay safe. We're going to go back down to Naples, where Matt Gutman's been reporting for us all day long. We saw you, Matt, and first of all, in incredible conditions. And then when the eye came, it was almost bizarre how quickly you went from whiteout washing machine conditions, as you described it, to clear skies nearly.
You could say it was from whiteout to blue skies. It was pretty incredible to see. And my producer, Robert Zepeda, actually walked out in the middle of that eye. We saw the clouds part. It was a gentle breeze. The rain had stopped, and he said he felt goosebumps. We also felt our ears pop. We saw folks walking their dogs, other people checking their cars. Some guy put up a drone in the air because it lasted for about half an hour. It was completely eerie, but that is what people describe as what it's like in the eye of the storm. Now, the other side of that was just minutes before we got slammed by this mallet of wind. That is the eye wall that came right through the center of downtown Naples, and it just felt like you were being beaten up, pummeled physically. That is how powerful it is. David mentioned earlier there was a wind gust of 142 miles per hour at the Naples airport, and I don't know what it was blowing there, but it was certainly blowing hard, and the rain came down with such force it felt like you were looking right into a fire hose. So that was happening for about an hour, and given the ferocity and the intensity of what we saw, you think that this city would be destroyed, but I spoke to emergency management officials and the mayor, and they say there is damage, but it is not that significant, and that dreaded storm surge has not materialized, only about 2 feet instead of up to 15 feet, Elizabeth.
All right, Matt Gutman, that's been an incredible experience for the folks in Naples. It was quite a spectacle to watch that hurricane sweep through there today. We're going to turn now to ABC's chief meteorologist, Ginger Z. And Ginger, just break down for us what happened today.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.